So, don't you hate it when all of a sudden your great plans and hard work turns into more work? What I got going on here is, as I noted in a previous video, or a shortly to come video, is we got the big old edge sander all set up in its own spot, so I can use it at any point in time. Fits in pretty nice. I'm good with that. But what that's done is it gives me an extra shelf, and I need more shelf space anyways for some other stuff. So what I'd like to do is put the extra shelf right there. Maybe change this up a little bit so that I can fit things better and put this here and that there, and again organize that whole shelf span that was basically just a bunch of stuff thrown in when we moved. So I think what we're going to do, seen a lot of stuff on YouTube about using these Schedule 42-inch PVC pipes. So I need to get basically this at that type of angle. This will, bend down with a reasonable radius, although I might make that, out of this stuff if I can figure it out. So the way I'm going to go about it is I cut a 2 1/4 inch plug with a hole saw. Put a 1/4 inch bolt in there. I'm going to hook that up into one of my drills and go over to the mini belt sander, horizontal belt sander, and I'm just going to run it until I get a little bit of a taper, and I can put it in there, kind of make a nice pressure fit, and then I can put that whole unit all together, go back on the belt sander and grind it down until I get a nice little friction fit in there, because it's pretty close. I just need to take a little bit off of this guy. But I think I'm going to use this more, so I need some adapters to get this working better. So this will be I'll use this probably a few times, and then I can just go out and buy these. Or I don't know, $3 or $4 a piece, and we'll go from there. And the shop dog just found the metal shelving, which has to sit there until I get said shelf put there. Oh well. So far trying to make these fittings. Number one is you want your taper to be really gradual. You don't want to have it really sort of sharp, otherwise it doesn't hold quite as well. Number two is you almost want this flat with only a little, like tiny. I think this will work for what I need, but if it doesn't, I'm going to have to make some adjustments. Number two, when you're holding it in the drill on the sander, you're going to want to make sure that you have this on high speed, just to really keep it spinning fast, light touch, and it works a lot better. Afterwards, I just cleaned this up with a file on the drill press. It made it a bit smoother, but it doesn't stick as well in here. So leaving it a bit rough, maybe not a bad idea. Number two is, how do I go from this to that? It doesn't fit. So Termite had a good idea. She said duct tape, but I don't like putting duct tape on permanent stuff, and I don't like permanent things. That's why this isn't glued in, and this is just going to be a pressure fit with some duct tape. I can always adjust it afterwards. So I've put a little bit of the green painter's tape, because this stuff pulls off of plastic and other stuff without really any residue, or it comes off quick. So I'm going to hit it with a couple layers of duct tape, get it close, and then sneak up with some more painter's tape. And just make a nice compression fitting. It doesn't need to be airtight. This is running off my big dust collector, so it's looking for more CFMs, and I know I'm choking it down, but best I got for right now, and I don't want to have to hook up 2 shop vacs, one here and one on the bottom. Just doesn't make sense. So I'm going with this for now. I may adjust later. It's worked really good to date. I get hardly any dust or stuff coming off the router bits on the table, and especially when I'm just doing like radius roundovers where the everything's just right up against it, almost no dust whatsoever. So I'm good with that. Otherwise, I'm gonna see if I can get this fit up and we'll show you the final. So if it sounds like there's a freight train next door, it's just the wind. It's continuing to be insane out here. So I wasn't happy with the fit. It kept popping off. So I took it back to the belt grinder, did sort of like a little bit of a concave on it and roughed it up. You can see it's a bit, a little less nice than it was before, but it seems to fit better. So if we take this in there, that on top, give it a little bit of a twist. There we go. And the right amount of duct tape is good. So now that it's in place, I like to seal it all up with a little bit of this stuff. It's like a wrapping, stretchy wrapping tape. So if you see back in there, I give fittings that don't necessarily sit perfectly. A couple wraps with this and it seals it right off. And if you ever need to take it off, it's fixed up real quick. So I like this stuff. All right, keep butchering some wood and now I can work on my new shelving. So I wasn't happy with what I had before. So what I did was I used my little rig, and I don't know if you can see how there's a step or a ridge right here. Really, it looks like it needs to be a very specific diameter for longer distance. So a taper just doesn't work for this. So again, I made it nice and a little bit longer there. Basically, just brought it over to the drill press. I have my little plug that I made. Stick it in there. And using an old chisel, it's a really old chisel, it's about to die anyways, just as a scraper, and I just scraped as it spun around. You can see some little chunkies out, and just little by little until it got to be the right size, and it sticks way better. So, happier with that. Still not entirely convinced. I really do need a lathe. So if you guys could put lots of comments, anybody who does watch these videos, so I can convince the Mrs. Butchers that I need a lathe to make cheap dust collection parts. I'm okay with that. We all need justification for our stuff, don't we? Anyways, I'm going to test fit this, run it for a while, and see what happens. All right. Shelf is in place. I just got to now move everything off the above shelf and adjust that height. And Bob's your uncle. We're good to go.